Hi guys, in this video I'm going to explain you how to work with gradients. So the first assignment of this week was how to create, how to choose any color and how to work with the swatches panel, the color panel, and the color picker, okay? But what if instead of having just one color to fill our shapes or to choose one for our strokes, we want to have a combination of two or more colors. That combination is called a gradient, okay? In this activity, what I will do is to explain you how to work with these three types of gradients, which are the linear gradients, the radial gradients, like in the shape of either an ellipse or a circle, the freeform gradients, and finally, you will have the chance to create your own galaxy or solar system using all of these types of gradient, okay? These will be your first free creative work that you will do this week, okay? So let's get started. So in this part, I will create a shape. We have some different shapes in this part. We have the rectangle, the rounded rectangle tool, the ellipse, and all of this, okay? In this occasion, I've already put or created the circles for you. So what you have to do is to just click on the shape and add a gradient to it. This one also has a shape, but in this part, you will use circles to create your stars or your planets, and you will use the pen tool to create more of these organic or free-form shapes to create your galaxy and your solar system, okay? So let me zoom in so I can explain you. So I will grab a simple circle from here, an ellipse tool. I will press Shift, okay? Because I want a perfect circle. Remember, Shift helps us to do that. So I will press Shift to create a circle. Now, the first assignment, as I told you, we learn how to pick any of these colors or to create our own swatches. But I don't want just a color. I want 2, 3, 4 different colors on the same shape. But I want them to be merged or combined. So that's where gradients come handy, okay? So how do I add a gradient? The first thing that I need to make sure is that my shape or my stroke, because you can also add gradients to a stroke, I have to make sure they have a fill, okay? Like in this case. And then we have the gradient tool, which I active with letter G. That's my quickie. So I will click in this tool. Then I will do one click on my shape. And as you can see, this option appears. Now, here in the Properties panel, the Gradient panel also opens, and we can see we have three different types of gradients. The first one is the linear gradient, the second one is the radial gradient, and the third one is the freeform gradient, which has two different ways to work with it, okay? So the linear gradient is very simple. My gradient, both my colors merge in straight lines, okay? I can add more than one color. As you can see, if I place my cursor near the line, I can see how that plus sign appears, so I can add more color stops. These little circles that hold a color are called color stops, okay? So how do I do to change them? I double click in one of those colors, so those properties of the color stop appear. Now, as you can see, we only have two colors. We have black and we have white, but we want more colors, right? So in this three-line menu, we can see how the first option that appears or is set is the grayscale. But we don't want to have or to work a grayscale. We want more. So I will choose RGB. Remember, I explained you at the beginning of the year two color modes, which are the RGB and the CMYK. So in this case, I will pick RGB because we are not going to print this. Now, all of these, now the options for the RGB appear, and I can either move the slider. This works like the color picker and the color panel. I can move the sliders, or I can use the eyedropper, okay, to sample one of the colors in here. So for now, I think I will pick a blue, something like that. And then I will double click on the second color there. I will go to the 3-line menu again, choose RGB, and in this case, I will choose, for example, a pink. Okay, now I have this gradient. Now, this part over here is used to change how my colors are blended. If I want more from the blue instead of the pink, I can move this slider, okay? This slider to create like that division. Okay, so now I have this gradient set, right? But I want to add more colors and I want to see more properties. So here in my properties panel, in the gradient panel, I will click in this 3-dot menu to open more of the settings of my gradients. I have two options. I can edit my gradient in this part, or I can edit it using the gradient panel. So the same thing works in here. If I click in one color stop, I can change it, okay? If I click with the plus sign, I can add another or extra color stops, and I can also change the opacity in here. Now the opacity is the level of transparency. So if I click, let me remove that. If I click here in this color stop, and then I choose, for example, 0%, I can see how that color stop, how this color stop starts being transparent, and then it starts to merge or getting combined with the next one, okay? So opacity in several of these color stops help us to have different effects, okay? So if I don't like one of the color stops, I can simply click on it and click on the trash can to delete it, okay? Now I will change this color stop to 100. There we go. Again, I can click in there and get rid of that color stop. I can also change the angle, okay? The angle, how my the orientation of my color stop. Again, I am using the scrolling my mouse to make these changes, but you can pick one from here or set here the exact number of the angle that you have. Now, this is the linear gradient. Now I have the radial gradient. Let's take a look at the properties. As you can see, it's called radial because it's a circle, but it's set only by the radius of my circle, okay? So we have the same options. I can click on one of the color stops, change the opacity, double click to change the color using the sliders, or I can add another color stop and change the color here, okay? I have that option as well. I also have the angle, which I can rotate it, okay? I have the angle. And I have, this is called the aspect ratio because it changed it to an ellipse form, okay? And in this case, we can see better how that angle works, okay? Now, these are the settings for the radial option. And the third one is called the freeform gradient. As you can see, the line and the radial kind of creates a straight line, and that's the only way I can edit my color stops. But the freeform allows me to add different color stops in places that I want, not following a straight line. Okay, so if I double click in one of these color stops, I can change the color. I can add multiple colors to have different styles and effects of my shape, okay? And I can simply move these color stops to play with the combination of colors, okay? And I have this circle over here. If I click in this circle, I can open a little bit more that color stop, or I can close it a little bit more, okay? And again, in this 3-dot menu, I can change it. The opacity, I can delete that color stop, etc. I have another option for the freeform. These are points, but if I click in lines, instead of having all those color stops separated, I can link them or join them. So I will click here in the first one, and then this kind of curve or path appears, okay? I'm sorry for the background noise. this line appears, so I will click in there, and then I can simply connect all those dots and create more, okay? And this one works like a shape. So I can even add more color stops and get to the end of my gradient stop or my color stop, and this way I am able to change that, okay? This type of gradient works very good. For example, if you want to add makeup to a vector portrait, if you want to create like a moon, okay? Because if I double click in here, I can, as I told you, change the opacity. I will put it at 0%. So I would only have this part with color, and the rest of it will be transparent. We can also use it to give the illusion of a sphere. So maybe this shape can combine with another one. Okay, if I put one on top of the other one and this part is transparent, okay, we can see how those shapes get combined with those transparent parts, okay? So we have different options and it's up to our creativity, okay? So those are the 3 types of gradients that, that Illustrator has that we can work with. Okay, so what are you going to do here in this assignment? The instructions say, choose the colors of your like to recreate the following linear gradients. Now, I already have the shapes here for you, so what you would have to do is to click on one of those circles and to recreate the type of gradient that appears here. So the first one would be at 0 degrees, the second one is 90 degrees, and so on, okay? So you click on the shape, then we have the gradient tool. We'll do one click, and the example says I need to have only 2 color stops. So I would go to my properties panel, the gradient option, the 3-dot menu. I will get rid of this color stop, but it's not a radial type of gradient, it's a linear one. So I will click on the linear gradient, and as easy as that, I already have the first one. Now the second one will be the same process, but instead of the angle being at 0%, it will be at 90 degrees, okay? At 0 degrees, it will be at 90 degrees, and like that. So in this case, for example, the color stop is not in the border or the edge of my shape, okay? It's a little bit out of it. So you can grab that color stop, okay? And what can you do with it? You will click in there, and we are going to move the first one first here. So we can move the slider a little bit more so that color stop is not all the way on one of the edges of my shape, okay? So you will recreate those. The second artboard are radial type of gradients. Then in here, you will try to recreate this. These are freeform gradients, but as you can see, this one has a transparent option. Now, as you can see, this one have the same type of gradient, but what I want you to do is to create your own freeform gradients, okay? You will paint the background as well. You will click here on the shape and create a freeform gradient for the background. You can totally personalize this, but what I'm expecting to see here is that you play with transparencies, okay? And in the next artboard, you have this color wheel, and you will have to choose any of the options that you have of the gradients to try to recreate this color wheel. And you will also have to pick the correct colors for this. Now, when you want to choose a color, a specific color of an image, you have the eyedropper, okay? So if I click in here, I can activate the eyedropper, and then I will click in one of these colors, and as you can see, I can sample those colors, okay? So you are going to choose the colors that you need to create this gradient. Now, you have to pay attention because here I have a green, This is a lime green, this is a yellow, this is a lime orange, this is a red. We know that a combination of yellow and red gives me orange. So you don't have to set all of these colors. You just have to pick the right ones in your gradients, because when they are combined, then we can get all those colors in between, okay? And finally, as I told you at the beginning, you're going to create your first free artwork or creative piece, and you will create a solar system or a galaxy, okay? So what I did in here, I left these two as examples. This is a circle, okay? This is a circle that I used with the ellipse tool, that I created with the ellipse tool. I will click in the gradient, and as you can see, I have two color stops. Both of them are white, but if I double click in this one, this is a 0%. And this one, it's 100%, but I changed the location of my color stops so I could get that effect. And I also used this slider because I didn't want my star to be super intense. I want it to be more like that faded effect, okay? And in this planet, I used a radial gradient for this one. And in this case, I created a shape. Now, this shape is not behind the circle. So how did I manage to get that part in here? So I created my shape, and using the gradient tool, I used the freeform, okay, the lines freeform, and the first color stops, I put them at a 0% because I didn't want my shape to end it like pointy, like I drew it, okay? I want it to be transparent to get that faded effect, or the illusion of this ring to be behind my planet. So that's the explanation for the gradients and the assignment or the activity that you have to do, okay?